Hey everyone, today it's the end of August, so let's look back at the best MOCs made in August 2025. All these will come from the LEGO Star Wars subreddit, the top 15 most upvoted MOCs from the past month. Starting at number 15, we have someone giving a quick little video of a LEGO store display. Now clearly this wasn't their own MOC, but someone at the place created for all the new Clone Wars sets that just came out this summer. I like the fact that this LEGO store gave their employees the chance to create something and put it on display in the store. It really helps give each store their own individual feel and own sense of community, and of course the larger community of LEGO and LEGO stores. Someone really had fun with this too. You can just tell there's a lot going on everywhere, and none of it's taken too seriously. Figures are randomly on top of vehicles or in the air, and it's just kind of a fun build. I think this builder is probably limited by their pick-a-brick wall though, because some of the terrain and then that big rock wall, you can just tell they used a lot of the same pieces over and over again. So while it's not the cleanest build, I'll cut them some slack for that. The back of this rock work has some interesting details, including what looks like the past Vizsla vs. Moff Gideon set down below. Maybe that's an old one they had left over and they kind of just packed it in there. But it works pretty well, and I kind of enjoy how it's just a big hodgepodge. Kind of reminds me of early 2000s LEGO, especially here on YouTube. And as a kid, this definitely would have gotten me really excited to buy a bunch of new Star Wars sets at the LEGO store. Number 14, someone modded the new MTT to hold 16 droids. Changing nothing but the retracting device itself, that's pretty impressive. It's somewhat of a small set, definitely too small in my opinion, but what they did here is pretty amazing. They ended up fitting a lot of droids onto this vehicle, something I wish LEGO would have done in their initial design. So this is a very cool mod to a set that I'll probably end up doing myself. 13th on the list is the Bat Speeder. Inspired by the new Hot Rod Snowspeeder set, looks like this guy created a Bat Speeder MOC for Batman and Robin. You know, it kind of works in a way. A few more edits to that Snowspeeder and it could totally feel like a Bat vehicle of some kind, especially one that LEGO would put out. That mini bike as well for Robin looks good and fits right in. This builder did a very good job adapting the speeder to Batman, and it does feel very close to being from that universe. And it's actually a pretty cool twist on that new Snowspeeder set. Number 12 is an alternative build of an Aston Martin. This Technic set created into a Y-Wing. Now I gotta say, I'm not a big fan of the Technic sets. I enjoy what Technic can do, but as far as building them, they're really annoying to me. So this guy, I tip my hat to him for taking the challenge of creating it into a Y-Wing that actually looks pretty good. It does make me wonder what LEGO Star Wars Technic sets would look like. Maybe we'll see something like that one day. I know we had the buildable characters, but something different more in the lines like this. I'd be curious what they could do with it. At number 11 is a Kamino MOC, and I'm really surprised this one's only at 11. I feel like it should definitely be higher. While some of the edges are a little rough in general, I think this is a really cool build. You can tell the builder was working with what they had, but it still turned out fantastic. Starting at the bottom, I kind of like how the water is just all over the place. It gives that ocean feel of the crazy waves we saw on the planet. And I like that it's included because a lot of the time people will skip over that part of Kamino and just do the top platform. Speaking of though, that platform's pretty good looking here. Those antennas on the side I love and especially work in its favor. Jango's starship is perfectly sized for it, and I think the patterns on the platform even work well for it too. Kamino had a lot of cool scenes in Attack of the Clones, so seeing them recreated in LEGO, I think is awesome. This is a really cool looking set just for the fact that those scenes are great, and focusing on them really elevates this build entirely, at least for me. I think it's just really cool to look at these scenes in LEGO. Number 10 is an AT-OT at maximum capacity. This AT-OT model is huge, very big, and the kind of set I'm hoping we get from LEGO someday. For now though, MOCs like this are going to have to keep me satisfied, and it's a really cool one. The build in general just kind of looks like the playset, but bigger. Obviously that's going to happen when you're basing it off the same vehicle, but I think you kind of see what I mean. Where as far as the paneling goes, the front, the detailing on the cockpit, and even the legs. But focusing on the interior, I think it looks even better because it's got a full array of clones inside. Seeing all the white troopers on the inside really fills out the set. And it's a pretty cool sight to see just how many can fit in here. In the old set we had a lot of clones, but not quite enough to fill it completely out. So this is quite the cool MOC, and a good way to show off all your clones. Number 9 is a Republic gunship heavy combat version from the V19 Torrent. This is an alternative build of that set, and never did I think someone would alternative build the V19 into a gunship, but it actually kind of works. Of course, the size isn't accurate at all, but it's fun and it feels like one of those classic alternative builds that LEGO themselves would have included on the back of the box. If you remember seeing those back in like early LEGO Star Wars days, like early 2000s, I think it gives off those vibes a lot. One thing though I gotta say stands out to me about this set is just how cool Obi-Wan and Ventress look with all the Phase 1 clones. LEGO really needs to release a Phase 1 Clone Trooper Battle Pack. With the Clone Wars Anakin, Ahsoka, and Obi-Wan now, Ventress, it looks so good together. Back to this specific MOC though, I really like its scale actually. It's not accurate of course like I already said, but if you take it in its own right as something totally different, it's pretty cool. I love how the area with the troopers is just tall enough. It makes it feel real, like they're actually standing in there. The wings are probably the best part of this build. Of course, that's a bit easier to translate from the V19. It looks like he just took parts he needed from it off and then put them back on the top. The cockpit's a bit flatter, but I still think works pretty well. And then the translucent yellow really pops out at you. It's a very compelling build and very fun. It's probably one of my favorites from this entire list, at least so far. Number 8 is an Imperial Star Destroyer bridge. Someone took on the task of making the entire bridge of a Star Destroyer, which is quite a big deal. They knew what they were doing though, because they did quite a good job with it. The shape of the front curve is amazing. Those iconic triangle shapings for the windows are classic and look so good. My only complaint is that there aren't more Imperial figures in this build. This builder shows pictures of minifigures all throughout, but not really any Imperial ones, which stinks. But I gotta say, that's one of my few complaints. This is a very big project to undertake. There's even pictures of it during the building process, and it's pretty impressive, both internally and the final product. A lot of time and care was put into this, and it shows. It looks very good. It looks like a stop motion set, like you could use this just to create stop motion movies and stuff, like a whole set for a movie. Really well done. Next, number 7 is the mini Death Star and Alderaan MOC. A bit of a smaller MOC from what we've seen so far, but a pretty good one. I actually quite enjoy it. The build here is the Death Star 2 gift with purchase from a couple of years ago, but fully filled out to make it the Death Star 1. And then of course you can see right here a few chunks of brown rock and an explosion to signify Alderaan getting blown up by the one and only Death Star laser. These were some pretty small modifications to the set, but it's actually a pretty fun little build. I really like it. It just adds a bit more playfulness to this set. Something similar with the Death Star 2 could have been blowing up a Star Cruiser or something like that. If they would have added that, it would have made that set even cooler, as it just adds a different kind of layer of dynamicness to it that makes it feel alive. 6th on the list is Vader visiting the tomb of Padme Amidala. Now, I really like this one because it's really different. This takes some inspiration from Legends books and material that don't really see a lot of MOCs made from LEGO, especially now because those have kind of been pushed out the door. I really love this MOC. It's insanely cool and you feel the weight of it through the bricks. Of course, that's just our ties to the characters, but seeing Darth Vader walking up to Padme's tomb holds a lot more weight than it should, especially in LEGO. Some of these pictures show him right in the middle with the stained glass and the casket, and it gets you thinking a lot more than LEGO probably should. But that just goes to show the level of detail put into this build by this MOC builder. I mean, looking at this picture, you can see so many different little etchings, details all around this tomb that make it feel real and make it feel like it belongs on Naboo in Theed. It doesn't just stop there though, as there's a whole bunch of graves around it, and then even a path leading up to where he entered, with a couple Death Troopers behind him, adding to the realism of this scene. Extending out was a really good call, and I love the dark green, live border around it. This MOC was really well done. Has a lot going on. Really enjoyable, and I love how different it is. Number 5 is a particle cannon turret from Star Wars Battlefront 2. We had one of these builds similar to this last month, and it was really cool there, and it's really cool here too. This one's obviously much bigger, but still awesome to look at. This turret design is just so cool. I think the double-barreled with the guards on the side just works so well together. And behind it with the clone operating it even has that little screen. It looks so good. A really great design that could be used on a clone base of some kind and work really well. Fourth on this list is Victory in Death, a smaller mock diorama of a midi-scale Venator crashed down into the snow just like the finale of the Clone Wars. I really don't have a lot to say for this one. I think it's just all around a very solid build and design. A lot of the pieces are broken off where they need to be, but yet they're all still strapped in, and it's not like they're just thrown down. It's very much still a cohesive build, not just a mess. Every piece is placed purposefully. I would however like to see that Venator not crashed because it actually looks like a very good design. One thing I was looking for that wasn't there though is Darth Vader walking up to the Clone Trooper helmet. Surprised they didn't put a nod to that anywhere on the set. That would have been a really neat touch, but nonetheless this build still works plenty well on its own. Third on this list is a play-scale Imperial Venator made from the Imperial Star Destroyer, which might be one of the best alternative builds I've ever seen. While most alternative builds can be fun, different, and I really like them for other reasons, this one looks like a playset in and of itself. There's almost nowhere on this build that denotes to me that this is an alternative build. The wings don't close perfectly on the very back side, which is the only area I can really see an issue with. Even then, it's not a big issue at all. This builder did quite a spectacular job, and the proportions I think are wondrous, way better than LEGO's Playscale Venator from quite a few years back. Its design is so clean, and even though it's a mock, it still includes the carry handle, as well as other play functions that even hint at the original Playscale model of the Venator. There are so many well done touches around this build, and it feels like a very complete set. I'd love to keep talking more about this build, but I just can't. There's too many good things to talk about. Really well done, and I'm kind of surprised it's not the top one. I haven't seen the top sets yet, but this was really good and hard to beat. Number 2 is Jabba's Palace Book Nook, a very well done set that actually looks official. This builder struck the right amount of details with also the right amount of skipping over areas, keeping the cost low like they would try to do in a LEGO set. The one thing that gives it away though is the bounty of minifigures included. It looks great, just like Jabba's party room from Return of the Jedi. And I gotta say that Rancor looks very menacing down below in that cage, holding the Gamorrean guard and Luke looking right back at him. Very cool. I think it also helps the lighting that this builder has on this picture. Puts everything in somewhat of a shadow down below, just adding some dramatic effect to it. And again, up above is just a party and looks just as good. All around you can tell this is an experienced builder, very well done, and something I'd see LEGO creating for us as well. And finally, we made it to the top spot, which, looking at the picture, is a bit interesting. This is of a user posting his kid's build of the brand new Death Star. I'm sure all of you have seen pictures of the brand new UCS Death Star. It's $1,000 and it's a big flat slab. And this person's kid built it on their own. And while I'm kind of surprised it made it to number 1, I can totally see why. It's actually a pretty fun build. Of course, it was built by a kid, so it has that childlike charm to it that I feel like LEGO sometimes misses nowadays. This build, however, is actually unironically pretty good. I actually really like it. Of course, you can tell it's a bit crude in some areas, but it gets everything it needs to down pretty well. It's got the conference room, Luke swinging across, C-3PO in the control bay for the hangar, trash compactor, a hallway down below with TIE Advanced, Obi-Wan shutting off the tractor beam, and even the final duel room. You know, looking around, I actually think I prefer this build method to what LEGO did. LEGO just had that big flat pancake with all the dioramas recessed in, whereas this one's shoving them out, making them very visible and open. I kind of like that concept better. Keeps everything more open, playful, and easier to see, as well as saving a bunch of bricks from just having to be the outer edges. So LEGO might want to look into this kid because he's got some really good ideas. Alright, and with that, that was the number 1 set of August 2025. So now that we've gone through all 15, let me know down below your favorites from the list. My favorite are definitely 2 of the alternate builds, the Republic gunship and that Playscale and Venator mock. I gotta give a shout out to Jabba's Palace Book Nook as well. That was a really well done build, probably the cleanest mock on the entire list. But again, let me know in the comments which ones were your favorite. And if you happen to miss July, make sure to check that out too. Link will be in the description. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe for more, and until next time, I'll see you guys later.